Once Upon a Time in the West is a 1968 epic spaghetti western film directed by Sergio Leone, who co-wrote it with Sergio Donati based on a story by Dario Argento, Bernardo Bertolucci, and Leone. The story revolves around a mysterious stranger, a ruthless outlaw, and a widow who find themselves entangled in a violent conflict over land ownership and revenge. Plot: a train arrives at the Old West town of Flagstone. Three gunmen approach an isolated train depot. A nameless harmonica-playing stranger played by Charles Bronson gets off and asks for someone named Frank. Gunmen tell him Frank sent them in his place. Stranger, known as Harmonica, opens fire, killing all three. Frank, played by Henry Fonda, is working as a hired gunman for the railroad tycoon, Morton, played by Gabrielle Ferzetti, who is trying to acquire land owned by Brett McBain's family. The Dusters, warned by the three outlaws, lead Harmonica to believe they were members of a different gang led by Cheyenne, played by Jason Robards, another outlaw. Meanwhile, Frank and his henchmen kill McBain and his three children at their Sweetwater ranch and leave behind evidence to frame Cheyenne for the murders. A woman named Jill, played by Claudia Cardinale, arrives in Flagstone, supposedly to marry McBain, played by Frank Wolf, at Sweetwater. In fact, she is a former New Orleans prostitute who married McBain a month earlier, so she is the sole heir to Sweetwater. As it will emerge, McBain knew the railroad would pass through Sweetwater one day and planned to build a watering station there, subject to a reverter that he will forfeit Sweetwater if the station is not built by the time the railroad reaches it. Morton only told Frank to intimidate McBain, and the murder has put them at odds. Morton wants to make a deal with Jill, but Frank wants the land for himself. Cheyenne denies that it was his men who ambushed Harmonica and murdered the McBains. Harmonica saves Jill from two of Frank's men and spies out the railway carriage to which Morton is confined on crutches, owing to his spinal tuberculosis. Harmonica discovers the connection between Frank and Morton but is seen and captured. When Frank asks for Harmonica's name, he replies with names of men that Frank has killed in the past. Frank is called away and Cheyenne rescues Harmonica. The two collaborate to help Jill save Sweetwater, using stockpiled materials to start building a station. After a threatening sexual encounter with Frank, Jill is forced to auction the land while Frank's henchmen intimidate the bidders in order to keep the purchase price low. Suddenly, Harmonica appears with Cheyenne in tow and bids $5,000, which is the price on Cheyenne's head as a wanted fugitive, and gets the property himself. Meanwhile, Morton has bribed Frank's own men to kill him, but Harmonica intervenes to save Frank from being ambushed in the street. When Jill condemns Harmonica for saving Frank's life, he replies, "I didn't let them kill him, and that's not the same thing." Cheyenne soon escapes custody and he and his gang engage Frank's remaining men in a gunfight on Morton's train. Except for Cheyenne, who heads to Sweetwater, everyone is killed, including Morton. When Frank sees the aftermath of the fight, he rides to Sweetwater too, where he finds Harmonica waiting. Cheyenne has arrived earlier, but he remains in the ranch house with Jill. Outside, Harmonica and Frank engage in a showdown. Through a flashback, it is revealed that Frank had hanged Harmonica's older brother, forcing the younger brother to support him on his shoulders. Just before the panting boy collapsed under the weight, Frank had forced a harmonica into his mouth, telling him to keep your lovin' brother happy. Harmonica beats Frank to the draw. As he lies dying, Frank again asks Harmonica's identity and Harmonica places the instrument in Frank's mouth. Frank remembers, nods his head, and dies. Jill hopes Harmonica will stay with her, but, as Cheyenne has already told her, that won't happen. Jill asks Harmonica to come back and he says, "Someday." Harmonica and Cheyenne leave Sweetwater together, but Cheyenne collapses and dies from a gut wound he received in the gunfight with Morton. As Harmonica departs carrying Cheyenne's body on a horse, Jill serves water to the railroad workers arriving at the new station. About the film. The film, directed by Sergio Leone, who co-wrote it with Sergio Donati based on a story by Dario Argento, Bernardo Bertolucci, and Leone. The film is the first installment in Leone's Once Upon a Time trilogy, followed by Duck, You Sucker, and Once Upon a Time in America, though the films do not share any characters in common. The casting of Once Upon a Time in the West includes Henry Fonda, Charles Bronson, Claudia Cardinale, Jason Robards, and Gabrielle Ferzetti. Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, was primarily filmed in United States, Spain and Italy. Director Sergio Leone utilized various iconic locations, including Almeria in Spain and Cinecittà Studios in Rome. Some scenes were filmed in the United States, in Monument Valley. The production featured elaborate sets, detailed production design, and stunning cinematography. The music for Once Upon a Time in the West was composed by Ennio Morricone, who collaborated with Sergio Leone on many of his films. The film's soundtrack is highly regarded and is known for its evocative and memorable themes, including the iconic harmonica motif. Once Upon a Time in the West was released on December 21, 1968, in Italy. The international release dates varied, with subsequent releases in other countries in the following years. The film had a budget of around $5 million. While specific box office figures for the film's initial release are not readily available, it achieved commercial success over time, becoming a classic and earning substantial revenue through various re-releases and home video sales. Once Upon a Time in the West received positive reviews from critics upon its release. The film was praised for its epic scale, masterful direction, brilliant performances, and innovative storytelling. It has since been recognized as one of the greatest Western films ever made. The film's legacy is significant, with Once Upon a Time in the West often regarded as a masterpiece of the Western genre. It has influenced numerous filmmakers and is celebrated for its visual style, complex characters, and thematic depth. 10 interesting facts about Once Upon a Time in the West movie. 1. Clint Eastwood was originally considered for the role of harmonica, which eventually went to Charles Bronson. 2. Director Sergio Leone wanted Henry Fonda to play the villainous role of Frank, which was a departure from Fonda's usual heroic roles. 3. Ennio Morricone composed the film's score before the movie was shot, and Leone played the music on set to help create the desired atmosphere. 4. Sergio Leone originally wanted Sophia Loren to play Jill McBain. 5. The film is selected for preservation in the United States and National Film Registry in 2009. 6. Robert Ryan turned down a role to appear in The Wild Bunch instead. 7. Once Upon a Time in the West was the first spaghetti western to be shot in America. 8. The opening scene of the film, featuring a tense showdown at a train station, is nearly 15 minutes long and contains minimal dialogue. 9. The character of Jill McBain, played by Claudia Cardinale, represents the evolving role of women in westerns, portraying a strong and independent female character. 10. The film's production faced challenges due to language barriers and clashes between the Italian crew and the American actors.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more interesting videos and don't forget to press like button and share.